There are scenes you never forget, not because they're epic, but because they break you from the inside. Today, you're going to see the 10 most disturbing scenes in the history of cinema. And trust me, nothing, absolutely nothing, comes close. Throughout the entire film, Erica keeps control. Piano teacher, elegant, rigid, perfect. But as the film goes on, we see she's shattered inside. She lives with her mother in a suffocating relationship. She doesn't love. She doesn't let herself be loved. Repressed and filled with extreme perversions. Then he appears. Her student, young, confident, persistent. Erica doesn't know how to handle desire. So she writes him a letter, detailing, step by step, what she wants him to do. But not out of pleasure, out of humiliation, out of trauma. The most extreme things you can imagine, where human dignity disappears, and all that's left is repression at its darkest. And then, the scene happens. He enters her home. He's no longer her student. He's an animal, confused by what he thinks she wants. He hits her, forces her, insults her, even insults her mother. He tries to recreate every line from the letter. He thinks he's fulfilling a fantasy, but Erica doesn't react. She doesn't moan, doesn't beg. She says nothing. She's just there, broken, dissociated. And that silence says everything. No music, no cuts, just dry psychological violence. Cold. This is the most disturbing moment in the film, because it doesn't look like a typical assault. It looks worse, the precise execution of a misunderstood desire, where desire no longer exists, only desperation. And when he's done, he leaves like it was nothing. And Erica remains, silent, destroyed, soulless. Leonard Lawrence started with a smile, but he never imagined what would happen to him. The army destroys him from day one. They don't train him. They dehumanize him, humiliate him. Every scream from Sergeant Hartman drills into his mind. Every punishment changes him. Until, little by little, he stops being a boy and becomes something else. Something broken. The bathroom scene is the climax. The camera moves in silence, and there he is, sitting, smiling, holding a rifle, reciting the rifleman's creed like a prayer. Joker tries to talk to him, but Pyle doesn't hear him. He just stares into nothing, as if nothing remains inside. And then he shoots. First, the sergeant who destroyed him. And then... No censorship. His brains hit the wall, fully visible, far too graphic for YouTube. But if you've seen it, you know that image never leaves you. The violence isn't what disturbs, it's the process. Watching a recruit lose his humanity, step by step, until he reaches that point. The music, his face, the contrast between a war movie and absolute horror. This scene stands as the most savage criticism cinema has ever made of the military. What started as a rural horror film suddenly becomes a lysergic nightmare. Denise has fallen into the deepest part of hell. Literally. Underground. Among hanging corpses, rusted tunnels, red lights and screams from another dimension. And there appears Dr. Satan. The cursed figure everyone thought was a myth exists. And what he does is worse than any legend. He's wired into a surgical machine, mutilating human bodies without anesthesia, without reason, like broken toys. Everything spins, everything vibrates. The editing is chaotic. The sound is a mix of distorted laughter, buzzing saws, and agony. The camera doesn't give you a break. You're not watching a movie anymore. You're stuck in a demented hallucination. And just when it can't get worse, something more disturbing appears. A gas-masked mutant, faceless, merciless. They call him the Iron Man, and the only thing he wants is to crush you. This scene doesn't try to scare you. It tries to suffocate you. Because here, horror isn't narrative. It's sensory. It's like being trapped inside the rotting brain of a killer, praying you can escape. Peter wakes up. The house is silent, but something's off. There's a presence, a pressure in the air. The camera follows him through hallways that no longer feel real. And then he sees her, his mother, hanging in the corner of the ceiling like a human spider. Silent, watching, no music, just the sound of terror held in the throat. Peter doesn't see her, but we do, and that makes it worse. He runs, downstairs, but the horror follows. She floats behind him. He climbs to the attic, closes the hatch, thinks he's safe, until he hears her, up above, floating, smashing her head against a beam. Again, and again, and again. Faster, sharper, more desperate. Until, cut. Peter screams. He runs, looks around. Naked figures surround him. No exit. He climbs to the treehouse. An entity enters him. The music shifts. They all smile. They call him King Paimon. And in that moment, you realize, Hereditary wasn't a tragedy. It was a ritual, and you were part of it. All throughout the film, we watch him rot. A brilliant scientist, passionate, obsessed. At first, he just loses control. Then fingernails, then teeth, then everything. Seth Brundle is no longer a man. He's walking tragedy. He fused with a fly in a failed teleportation experiment, and ever since, every cell in his body has screamed. But the worst part isn't his body. It's that he's still conscious, still feeling. That's what makes him a real monster. The climax comes when he tries to drag Veronica, the woman he loves, pregnant with his child, into one last fusion. She screams, cries, refuses. But Brundle doesn't want to be saved. He just doesn't want to die alone. The machine activates. Something goes wrong. Seth fuses with part of the equipment. What emerges isn't human. A twisted mechanical creature. Gasping. Barely standing. It has no mouth, but it has eyes. What's left of them? And then, the most disturbing part, he crawls to her, slowly, picks up a shotgun, and places it against his own head. He says nothing, but we understand everything. Kill me, please. And she does. The horror isn't in the gore, it's in the love. In the fact that inside that thing, someone was still aware and begging to stop feeling.
You like this, Dave?
It's not a violent scene. No knives, no chasing, no buckets of blood. But it may be the most unbearable moment in horror history. Sally, the only survivor, wakes up tied to a chair. In front of her, a family, but not a normal one. A collection of psychopaths who laugh, scream, eat human flesh, and act like dinner is a birthday party. The grandfather looks like a corpse, until they try to make him kill her. With a hammer. They place it in his trembling hands. He can't do it, but he tries. Again and again, while she screams like an animal in a cage. The worst part? There's no escape. The camera never cuts. It stays, watching. Leatherface laughs, wearing her friend's face as a mask. Toby Hooper doesn't direct a horror scene. He directs a psychological collapse. The horror isn't physical anymore. It's total mental exhaustion. You're not watching a movie. You're trapped in a nightmare. And when it finally ends, you need to escape too.
Je t'ai demandé de venir parce que je voulais que tu sois présent.
No music, no edit, no warning, just a static shot. Two men talk in a quiet room. Their tone is calm. But beneath the surface, history, guilt, a buried past. One of them, an Algerian man, was torn from his family as a child because of the other. A silent, racist act, long hidden, long denied. Now he's here, not to accuse, not to yell, just to say one thing. I didn't send the tapes. The other man asks, then why did you call me? Without changing expression, he calmly pulls out a blade and slits his throat. Right there, on camera. No score, no build-up, just a fountain of blood. And you suddenly realize what you're watching. Haneke doesn't film a suicide. He films the final consequence of a trauma no one wants to face. He films it cold, without emotion, without protection. It feels like watching an actual death caught by accident, because it's not filmed like a movie. It's filmed like reality. And that makes it one of the most raw, real, and devastating deaths ever put on film. You don't feel anything at first, just paralysis, just silence, like the man who watches him bleed out. The most controversial scene ever filmed. So much so, I can barely show it. 9 minutes, one single shot, a static camera, an underground tunnel, and a woman, alone. What follows is nearly impossible to describe without breaking something inside you. Alex, played by Monica Bellucci, is brutally assaulted and beaten nearly unconscious. No cuts, no music, just the sound of the act, the silence of a bystander, and the rawest pain cinema has ever dared to show. Gaspar Noé doesn't stylize, doesn't edit. He just leaves the camera still, and that's the punishment. For her and for us. Because we can't look, but we also can't look away. The violence here isn't just physical, it's cinematic. The scene doesn't end. It stretches far beyond what's tolerable. And just when you think it will cut, it doesn't, and doesn't, and doesn't, until you break. People walked out of the theater. Some fainted, others cried, but no one, absolutely no one, left the same. This isn't entertainment. It's not shock value. It's an act of violence filmed with the coldness of an autopsy. And whether you want to admit it or not, it's one of the most important and devastating scenes ever filmed. No one fully understands this scene, and that's exactly what makes it so disturbing. Henry, alone in his apartment, has been caring for his baby, if you can call it that. The baby doesn't look human. It's wrapped in bandages, covered in damp, glistening skin. It whimpers, moans, looks sick, looks like it's suffering. But no one comes, no one helps. And then Henry makes a decision. He cuts the bandages. What's revealed isn't a body, it's a living thing. Pulsing, wet, organic. Its insides spill open like a dissection. White fluid leaks. The creature writhes. It won't stop crying. And you're not sure if you're witnessing a death or a mutation. But the worst part, no one knows how this thing was made. To this day, David Lynch has never revealed what the baby was. It wasn't animatronic. It wasn't stop motion. It was real, somehow. Some say it was a taxidermied animal fetus. Others say it was mechanical. But the truth is a secret. Lynch didn't even let it be seen up close on set. That makes it worse. You're not just seeing something horrific. You're seeing something that shouldn't exist. When everything collapses, when Henry's head melts, when space distorts, you're not sure if you've watched a dream, a miscarriage, or the pure fear of being a parent. The most disturbing scene ever filmed. What it shows is absolutely traumatic. But the worst part is, most of it was real. Actress Isabella Gianni was already suffering serious mental health issues during production. And when this scene was filmed, she had a full psychological breakdown. The screaming, the thrashing, the clawing. It wasn't acting. It was a real collapse. And the director didn't cut. Throughout the film, the character behaves in increasingly erratic ways. We don't understand why. But suddenly, without warning, without context, madness and horror reach an unbearable peak. The camera just watches. Cold. Like witnessing an emotional exorcism. Ajani convulses on the floor. She smashes her head. She laughs, sobs, vomits. And then, she starts to bleed. First white fluid, then red. Like she's miscarrying something not human, but her own soul. No music, no effects, no editing. Just raw, chronic, unbearable chaos. And the most horrifying thing? You can't stop watching. Possession isn't a horror film. It's a descent into the total loss of identity. And this scene is the free fall. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And especially to invite you to my new channel, Horror Prime. A space that steps away from fiction and dives deep into real-life cases, mysteries, and much more.